California, as we know, is a great state that is so influential. Everyone wants to be us. But we shouldn't want to be us. After reading The American Genocide, I've realized that Polk and our founding Californians were very mean. Medley says that he wants to shine the light on California and U.S. history as his thesis, but I believe the thesis of this book is really to show California's dominance and influence over other countries and other states. I say this because a lot of chapter 4 and 3 talk about California's way of doing things, which is very by force. And as a historian, this is a book that you'd really want to read. So I do believe that Medley had this target of historian and not so much general population or regular history class. This recent week about the gold rush, we don't hear much about how the Chinese and the Russians and the Germans came to California so that they can partake in the gold rush. Instead, we hear everyone moving up to San Francisco within California itself. And so this book just really gives you a different perspective on California's beginnings. I do believe that after reading American Genocide, California has a very deep role in how the country, the United States as a whole, takes and values allyship and how they value trade. In the earlier chapters, especially chapter 1, when they talk about all the Indians and how they provided trade and how they would kill animals just to gain access to living. When we look now to the present time, we still do that. We still are involved in major trade organizations such as NATO, and we still hold alliances true, and these alliances haven't broken. So that's where Medley still stays true, and this book would be more valued for a historian. When it comes to the next question of if this book was published in 1950, how would that be? I think everyone would have rejected it back then because we were in such a time where change was happening. We had segregation, we had law change, presidents were being killed left and right. So I do believe that if someone were to read this book and think, wow, California did this, they might not agree with it anymore. And the general public probably would have said that California is not as forceful, that Medley could be lying about this because we don't hear about it. And they might have agreed that California had just taken it from Mexico, but I mean, it does say that we were sold for $50 million. So our general public today might be like, yeah, this is California. But in the 1950s, it probably would have been like, no, this is not California. California is probably a lot more indirectly associated with change and democracy, and this book doesn't really show that. And especially at that time in 1950, there was a lot of change going on in California, being on the west end and not so much on segregation, slavery. People probably wouldn't have taken Medley's book. They would have rejected it. At least I believe that they would have rejected it. I did like this book, as nasty as it was getting down to California. I think it really did show me California isn't as great of a state as we are told growing up.